War for the Planet of the Apes. You know, I was thinking of letting this one slide, but everywhere I go online, every review I see from Rotten Tomatoes to the Metacritic, everyone is applauding this movie for being so great. They say it's the best of the trilogy. They say that it's of course, the best Planet of the Apes movie that's been released, period. It's a very strong, it's an emotional tour de force. Everyone is so strongly praising War for the Planet of the Apes. And you know what? I'm not even here to say that War of the Planet of the Apes was a bad movie. It really wasn't a bad movie. It was an okay movie. The problem with War for the Planet of the Apes is the way the movie's advertised. Whether you go to theaters and you see the poster out there with Caesar with the shotgun on his back looking pissed on a horse with war jutting at you, or whether you see the trailer that makes it look like it's going to be huge that has Caesar's epic speech at the beginning about how he's tried to make peace with mankind and how he just can't do it anymore, and he didn't start this fight but he's going to finish it, and it shows him fighting against humans and his people fighting against humans and all that, all the theatrics they show in the trailer, and for everything in the poster. I'm here to tell you, in the break, this illusion that seems to be passed in these movie theaters that's being passed to critics everywhere, the War for the Planet of the Apes movie is a complete utter lie. And as I said before, the movie wasn't a bad movie, and I could forgive the movie being what it was. I will admit some positives about the movie real quick, but the positives still cannot overshadow this one huge negative about the movie, which I'm about to mention to you. And the positive is that the movie does show the apes in a positive light. It allows you to really be able to to relate to them, because it shows their plight and it shows their society and everything in even more depth than it did in the first two movies. So you really get to learn a lot more about the ape society, and you really get to see them interact, even though a lot of the apes don't speak English like Caesar does. But at the same time, though, they speak through sign language and there are subtitles going on through a lot of the movie, but that still doesn't spoil it at all with these apes and them interacting. You really feel for the community that they have and them wanting a better life for themselves, and them unfortunately being forced to fight against humans. I mean, there are some positives to the movie, and it is a pretty strong narrative that does happen in the Planet of the Apes movie. Those are the positives I can mention about the movie. And now I'm about to tell you the huge negative that, to me, really ruined the Planet of the Apes movie for me. And the thing that, when I was watching the movie, I was looking for this from the way the movie's advertised, and the movie did not deliver at all on this promise. In movie one, we got to see Caesar grow from being an animal into gaining sentience by James Franco performing experiments on him in order to try and cure his father's Alzheimer's, and we got to see him coming to terms with him being what he is, and him leading ape kind from being subjected by human beings. We got to see that in movie one. In movie two, we get to see the apes living outside of humans and them trying to survive in the internal conflict that Caesar has to face within his own people, dealing with Koba, and how Koba ends up instigating things to start a battle with humans, which in the end, is going to end up equaling up to the huge conflict between humans and apes over who is going to really be dominant on this planet, which of course we know that's what the Planet of the Apes is supposed to be completely about. Is about humans humans losing control of the planet and apes coming and taking over. We have environmental factors and societal factors and everything to do with that, but basically that's what ends up happening in the Planet of the Apes movie. And this is supposed to lead into the third movie. The third movie, being called War for the Planet of the Apes, is not just supposed to be lip service. When you hear a movie that has war in the title, you expect what was made, what was built up in the first two movies to finally come to this point where humans and apes are finally going to have this huge, gigantic battle against each other for control of the earth. It's going to be a huge battle that's going to determine the fate of whether humans are going to become the dominant species again, or whether apes are going to come out on top, and whether apes are going to dominate. And here's the huge, big spoiler here. In slap in the face, there is no war in War for the Planet of the Apes. This is supposed to be a review, not a synopsis, but I'm still going to go over to you basically what happens to the movie and what doesn't lead to a huge war going on. At the beginning of the movie, the seeds for everything get started, which kind of really sets you off guard. At the beginning, Caesar and the apes are living peacefully. Humans do end up coming on their territory at the beginning, so they're not exactly living peacefully, but they're basically living in a pretty high existence where they're pretty much doing extremely well. They're not in cages, they're not struggling or anything like that. But humans are coming and encroaching on their territory. The humans with the guns, the humans that were hinted at coming and threatening Caesar's group at the end of the second movie. His people end up defeating these humans. Okay, we get to see Caesar in all his glory, which is fine, that's fine. And then he ends up sparing 3 humans to try and let the humans know that he doesn't really want war. He just wants to be left alone. He lets loose 3 humans and sends them back to the Colonel, who's of course the villain of the movie, and he sends those humans back to send a message that what we want is peace. Not only are we sending a message with these soldiers, but by us sparing them, we are letting you know that we're not here, we're not out for blood. We just want to live and just want to have a peaceful coexistence. So Caesar and them decide that what they're going to do in order to escape the humans is they find a land Caesar's son eventually comes back, and they end up finding a land that is beyond the desert that's supposed to be far away from the humans, where they can have their own sanctuary, which is fine. So what ends up happening after that is, of course, we know humans can be dicks. So the humans end up coming back. And one in particular from the group, he is clearly a ape-hater, and they end up killing Caesar's wife and Caesar's son, and he ends up escaping. Fast forward a little bit, Caesar and them end up going on a journey. Caesar and some of his closest people who join him, even though he's reluctant for them too, in order to go and hunt down the Colonel, and hopefully by killing the Colonel, they want to end this battle between apes and humans. And they end up meeting a little girl, and that ends up showing like them having sympathy for humans and everything, all yada yada, all that ends up happening. A bunch of other stuff ends up happening too. They find an ape who acts human, whatever, with all that. So in the end, a large chunk of the movie is Caesar tracking down the Colonel, and then Caesar finally ends up meeting the Colonel. After Caesar ends up meeting the Colonel, to make a long story short, he gets captured by said Colonel, and most of his tribe has already somehow been captured by said Colonel. And here we have, ladies and gentlemen, I just explained you first half of the movie, them chasing down a Colonel. Second half of the movie is Caesar captured by the Colonel. And in this half of the movie, Caesar, he's basically tortured, and his people like end up begging for food and everything. They end up being placed back from the low point that they were in movie 1. I mean, personally, I already felt sympathy for Caesar, not only when the soldiers killed his wife and his son, but even in the first movie when he was being good intentions aside, he was being led by at least by the Hobgoblin from the Spider-Man series, and when he was being tortured by Draco Malfoy later on in the first movie. I think that was enough for me to feel sympathy for Caesar's condition. So I didn't need to have all that recounted inside of the third movie. But in any case. And that's the second half of the movies. You have Caesar captured, and him and his fellow ape Connor trying to plot an escape in order to get out of the Colonel's compound. Of course, they end up out strategizing the Colonel in order to getting out of there. But oh yeah, wait, it gets better. It turns out in the movie that the Colonel is supposed to be meeting up with some humans from the north, which is information Caesar gathers, and you think this huge meeting up in the north is going to be the huge army that Caesar's eventually is going to have to get his apes together in order to fight, but that's not what ends up happening. Well, it turns out the Colonel is considered crazy by other humans because the virus that was killing humans, that was making the apes smarter, has mutated, and now a lot of the humans that became immune to the virus are now getting, as the virus is now being transferred from human to human instead of from ape to human, it is now making them dumb and making them regress back to like a primitive state of mind. It's basically just making them stupid, making ape smart, man stupid. Got it. So this Colonel's killing humans instead of trying to cure them that have the virus. So these humans from the north are coming down to kill the Colonel and to destroy the Colonel's operation. Caesar's people, of course, use this opportunity in order to escape, while the northern soldiers are coming in order to destroy. Now we know the northern soldiers aren't on Caesar's side either, but that has no factor into the movie, really. So the northern soldiers end up coming down and they end up messing up the Colonel's operation. Caesar does a little bit of combat himself to mess with the Colonel's operation while everyone is retreating. Oh yeah, by the way, for all the bad assery they built up with the Colonel, and I'm sorry, I can't remember the name of the actor. I know he's a big time actor. I loved him in what was that movie? Zombie World, Zombie Land, whatever that comedic zombie movie was. I love that actor in that movie. But he was played up to be a big badass, like crazy person for Caesar to fight against. And in the end, he ends up just getting the virus. And he ends up committing suicide because he's now has the virus and he's trying to kill everyone that has the virus. So Caesar doesn't even get a revenge thing against this crazy madman. But in any case, so in the end, the two soldier factors are fighting. Caesar's people are escaping. Caesar does a little bit of stuff. I crap you not on this. Giant avalanche comes down. You hear in movies how giant rock falls and kills everyone. It happens here. Giant avalanche comes down from the force of the fight and wipes out the rest of the northern troops that could be a threat to Caesar them after they end up killing with Caesar, not Caesar's people, with just Caesar, all the Colonel's people. In the end, all the northern soldiers are killed by the avalanche. Caesar's people survive. They end up going to the Ape Promised Land beyond the desert. And then Caesar dies from his wounds after that long journey. The end. I'm sitting here recording this, wondering if this is going to be my shortest rant ever, because there's really not much else I can say about this movie. The best thing about this movie, I'd say, is that the movie has a very strong narrative. It's a very good narrative story, I will admit this. But when you advertise a movie to be a certain way, like that's the whole point of this movie, like everything in the movie is supposed to build up for this to happen, and then nothing of the sort happens, it's very disappointing. Even when the credits rolled, I was like, at the end of the movie, even in theaters, nobody clapped. As soon as the credits roll, which is unheard of in a movie nowadays, everyone was getting out their seats and just leaving, and my mouth was just hanging open like this. I was like, is this really it? Is that the end of the movie? There was no huge war between man and apes that the trailers promised, that the huge poster or war on the promise. Is that really all there is? And that's pretty much my review of War for the Planet of the Apes. I mean, you don't have Lord of the Rings: The Two Towers without the two towers in it. You don't have the movie Pearl Harbor and then have almost the entire movie, including the epic battle, take place in Boise, Idaho. You don't have a Fast and Furious movie and make it about two old men playing backgammon. And last but not least, you do not, under any circumstances, have a movie called War for the Planet of the Apes and don't have a semblance of a final war between apes and humans for the planet of the apes. You don't do that. The fight in the second reboot, the final fight in that second reboot was kind of a war. The fight at the end of the first movie between the escaping apes into the forest and the police force was more of a war. The fight between Caesar and Koba at the end of the second freaking movie with humans kind of interplaying in it was more of a war. And for all of that to lead up to this, it just wasn't enough, guys. It wasn't enough. I don't know who's to blame, director, producer, the writer. I don't know who's to blame for this, but people, don't believe the hype. Don't believe the Rotten Tomato score. Don't believe the Metacritic. This movie was just a sham. The way this was clickbait evolved at its finest. Clickbait has now well evolved. Yellow journalism evolved into clickbait. It has now evolved into this. I don't think you should stand for it. I think people should speak out about look at how the movie was freaking advertised, and then look at what was delivered in the movie. And despite how good of a narrative the movie might have had, the movie completely didn't deliver on that at all. It was a complete, I don't know what they were trying to do with this movie, but it was just a complete, utter, like, sham. It was phony. It was a complete bait move, and I really find it unacceptable. So what did you think about the movie? Did you like the movie? Did you hate the movie? Have any thoughts to the positive or to the contrary? Please like and subscribe down below at Mr. Reviews if you like what you saw here, and please continue to support us. We're definitely, if no one else is going to speak the truth, we're going to. I can already envision the comments down here. Someone eventually is going to be like, the movie was actually awesome because of and I still want to hear that. I still want to hear your opinion, even though you're going to be very hard pressed at convincing me, people, that there was any semblance of a huge grand conflict in the war that the two movies were supposed to lead to inside of this movie. You're going to be very hard pressed to convince me of that. I think the movie was a complete sham. What it was saying was going to give you, it did not deliver, and I really think this movie should be held accountable for that. I don't think it deserves the high scores it's been getting. I don't think it deserves the ticket sales. It obviously has them. I personally don't think so, because I think this movie is straight up shamming you. It's straight up cheating you. So thank you for looking at what we presented here today in Mr. Reviews, and have a good day. Bye.